Good morning, Cheltenham. Let's do that one more time. Good morning, Cheltenham. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very, very much. You know, it's exciting to see so much blue and gold out here today. Yes. This is Cheltenham. I want to say this, that it has been exciting this week to have the pleasure every morning watching so many of you walk in the morning, really embodying Spirit Week. I've seen some of the most colorful, outrageous outfits I've seen in a very long time, especially some of the throwback outfits that many of you have had this week that take me back to my era. But before I start to say a few words, I want to acknowledge some individuals in the room who are here with us and who made this possible. I really want to acknowledge our elected officials who are here. I want to welcome Representative Steve McCarter and his office who are here today. I believe Senator Art Haywood may be here with us as well, and obviously we'll do introductions later. But Senator Casey, who's been a champion for you and for students across the state, who's going to spend a few minutes talking to you. I want to acknowledge obviously the leadership from Student Council. A round of applause for their leadership in helping to facilitate this as well. I want to thank members of the board who are here, Mr. Bill England, Mr. Dan Schultz, Ms. Kate Thompson, and our board president, Ms. Julie Haywood, for their support as well. In addition to that, I really want to spend a special thank you to Mr. Mark Hoff, who's been there was a tremendous amount of coordination that went into this, and without his leadership, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you again for all who are in the audience. You know, I had mentioned that this excitement around Spirit Week and the things that I saw and how impressed I was with the way in which you are bouncing back on the heels of a tragic loss of life at Stoneman Douglas and the lives that were taken, and how that has generated a tremendous amount of anxiety, or questions about safety, questions about what if. Both teachers and students who have reached out to me expressing their concerns. How are you going to keep us safe? How does this not happen here? And I want to say that we are working with our municipal partners to address and make sure that you are safe, and work to strengthen our safety protocols. And the conversations that you're going to have today talks about not only what we can do as a community, but what we need to do as a nation. And I applaud this class to join the voices of millions of students across the country who are grassroots activists demanding change, demanding systemic change, not only from school leaders, but legislators as well, to ensure that this level of violence does not happen again. It is your voice that is going to echo, and I'm excited that you are here, and Senator Casey is here today to share that. I welcome all of you to please come out tonight enjoy yourselves in the spirit of friendship. I know there's concerns about safety, and we're telling you we're going to ensure that it is a safe environment for you tonight to come out and have fun and demonstrate your school spirit. So with that, I'm told that I only had 5 minutes, and I want to honor those 5 minutes. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Eve Glazier, who was our student council co-chair, who will be speaking with you. Thank you, Cheltenham.
Hi everyone. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Eve Glazier. I'm a junior, and I am the Director of Civics and Community Engagement for Student Council. Today we are so thrilled to be hosting Senator Casey for a timely and lively discussion about what is probably one of the most salient issues in American politics today. So this is really your time to voice your opinions and to be heard. So when I first got the notification alerting me to what happened in Parkland a couple weeks ago, my first reaction wasn't, oh my God, that's so tragic, but rather it was, oh God, not again. We're inundated with reports of mass shooting after mass shooting. And in reality, most shootings don't even make the news. And smaller scale gun violence occurs all the time, disproportionately affecting people of color, people in the LGBTQIA plus community, and other marginalized groups. These events have become woven into the fabric of American society, and we have become numb. Understandably so, because it seems like after every one of these mass shootings, we have the same reaction. Everybody tunes in, lends their thoughts and prayers, and then the news cycle moves on, and with it goes public interest. The aftermath of Parkland could be different, but we'll have to put in the work to make it so. We, as teenagers, will carry this movement. We're not too young, we're not too ignorant, we're not too naive to be aware of and to fight for the issues we care about. And I've seen firsthand the unbridled passion and social commitment of our generation. Today, we have a unique and important opportunity to speak directly with our senator, the person representing us to the most powerful legislative body in the country. And what you say today is going to remain in his mind while he's voting on and drafting legislation that affects not just us, but the entire country. This is your time to showcase the brilliance of Cheltenham students. This is your time to be civically engaged, and this is your time to make a difference. So now I just want to outline some of the actions that we've taken as a student council in response to this issue. This year, Mina Johnson and I have been working really hard with our new committee to expand the council beyond just planning dances and things like that, because we really do think it is our place to be engaged with political issues and to be engaged with social justice issues, because the world is political and these things affect us all. So firstly, the week of March 12th through the 16th, during lunches, we're going to be holding a letter writing and voter registration drive, and this will be another opportunity for you guys to flood our representatives with the voices of Cheltenham students and really enact change. And then also, if you'll be 18 by the May 15th primaries, you'll be eligible to register to vote during that time, which is another way to make change in our communities. And then secondly, student council wants to act as a liaison between you, the student body, and administration. And you guys all have a lot of concerns, a lot of questions, a lot of suggestions about the safety and security of our own school and the way that it's being handled. So we really implore you guys to let us know, email us, message us through social media, or come to a student council member directly, and we will make sure that your concerns are addressed. And we're also working on creating a venue for you guys to be able to voice those concerns to us and administration, so stay tuned for that. And then thirdly, while council itself isn't directly organizing any of these actions, because we think it's important that it be an organic, student-led grassroots movement by the student body at large, we really encourage you guys to take your activism beyond just today and to think of ways that we can join together as a community and as a student body to make our voices heard and to fight for change. So thank you all. And now,
hello, everyone. Before I welcome Senator Casey, I wanted to lay out a few ground rules for today's event. The senator wants to get as many questions as possible today, and to do so, we all need to be on the same page on how this will work. The senator will give his opening remarks, and then we'll begin taking questions from the audience. The senator is going to do his best to keep his answers pointed and concise, and ask the same of your questions, allowing us to maximize the participants today. If you are interested in asking a question, please form a line behind the microphones in the aisles, and staff members will help facilitate the order of questions asked. Please don't rush the microphones because we need to handle this in an orderly fashion. So that the senator knows who you are and where you're from, please begin your question with your first name and the town in Pennsylvania you're from. We also have comment cards, so if we don't get to your question today, please turn these in on the way out, and you'll hear from the Casey office regarding the answers to your question. Today is meant to be informative and allow for students to be heard firsthand. Please not only respect the senator when talking, but the people around you. With that said, I now welcome Pennsylvania Senior Senator, United States Senator, Bob Casey.
Well, Chad, thanks so much. Let me just see here. All right. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. I want all the students right now to give yourselves a hand for having me here. And don't worry, I'm sure. I want to make sure that I thank as well some other individuals. I just briefly said hello to Chad. Let's hear for Chad Johnson, the student body president. We were just had a chance in the back to say hello very quickly to Dr. Marseille and Dr. McFall. Let's give them both a hand. I know that Senator Art Haywood has members of his staff, and Representative Steve McCarter is here. Where's Steve? Over here, thanks. Steve, great to be with you. Look, the first thing I want to say, and I'm going to be probably 10 minutes at the most, and if I go beyond that, you'll probably throw something at me, but we're about 10 minutes, right? Here's what I want to say first. Just listen up for 1 second. Here's what I say first. I want to first express gratitude to the students who are here, and in many ways, I'm saying it to you as individual students, but I'm saying it to your entire generation. I want to thank you for what you're doing for America in this debate about gun violence. Thank you for doing that, because right now in the United States of America, on the issue of gun violence, it is not politicians or other leaders in our society who are taking us in the right direction. The people who are leading us in America today on the right path, the long road albeit, but the right path to come up with solutions on gun violence, the people that are doing that are young people. Your generation is leading. And I don't want you to underestimate what you're doing. And I know it's been a very difficult couple of weeks, not only in terms of what happened in Florida, but I know it's been a difficult time here at Cheltenham. And I don't underestimate that. But I'll tell you, I am optimistic about the future because of what you and your generation are doing. So let's give your generation a hand for leading America in an important debate. Now, let me get back to what I should be doing, okay? And what the United States Senate should be doing. The United States Senate is supposed to be, among many institutions, but maybe the prime institution in our federal government, to have debates on big important issues and to have votes. But we're not doing that right now. The Republican majority doesn't seem to want to have a long, sustained debate and lots of votes. What we should be doing is taking some of these ideas, a bill or an amendment, a good idea that many of you have suggested to us and others have as well, and we should be debating and voting, one after another after another. We don't know where that will take us. We don't know if we'll achieve some measure of certainty on this issue. No one is asking for that. What the American people want the United States Senate to and the House of Representatives to do is to debate these issues and vote and see where we are. That's what you've told us. And your generation has said, we are not going away. We're going to keep pressuring politicians. We're going to keep marching. We're going to keep moving the country in the right direction. So I want to thank you for that. In so many ways, your generation will shape this debate. And I know some students here are more active than others. And some might say, well, that's not my debate. That's not my issue. I'm going to just watch from the sidelines. I'd urge you to get involved if you're not involved already. But I know so many of you are, not just on gun violence, but a lot of important issues. But I want to tell you this, and this isn't just to make you feel better. This is a fact. Your generation, in so many ways, will be more powerful and more effective than my generation has been. Why is that? Well, you're smarter, I think. I can't prove that, but it just seems like you are. But you have tools at your disposal. One of them, of course, is social media. No previous generation of Americans has had that opportunity to be able to master social media for good, to move the country in the right direction, because you can aggregate your voices and move very quickly. Look what's happened just in the last week, or 2 weeks, I guess. You've had politicians in Florida and in Washington reacting to you. That rarely happens in the scope of American history. My goodness, even the president the other day was saying some things that could move the country in the right direction. I hope he stays with it. I hope he doesn't get a call from the NRA and then just jump back into his usual position. But the fact that the President of the United States senators, and governors were saying things about what we could do on common sense gun measures is because of your generation, not because of my generation. So don't underestimate the power that you have. Don't underestimate the opportunity that you have to move the debate, not only on gun violence, but on so many other things. So one question I had to ask myself, when I was confronted with, as we all were, the horror and the violence in just one classroom back in December of 2012, Sandy Hook Elementary School, Newtown, Connecticut. I had to ask myself, as a legislator who would have to cast votes on a series of bills. One was a background check bill. The second was a limitation on the magazines, the ability for one person to use so many bullets at one time. And the third issue, of course, was the ban on the military style or assault weapon, depending on how you describe that weapon. Those were the three votes I was facing. And I had to say to myself, is there nothing the most powerful nation in the history of the human race can do to reduce the likelihood that we'll have another school shooting? Sandy Hook, or like Parkland, and then fill in the blank in terms of the others. That's what I had to ask myself. Because if I had voted no, no, and no on those three votes, I would be saying that there is nothing the United States of America, this great nation, which won World War II, which is always in the vanguard of discovery and breakthroughs and cures, wonderful things that happen in our country because of our know-how and because of our determination and because of the greatness of our people. That same country could do nothing about the issue of gun violence. But I said to myself, that's wrong. That's not American to surrender to gun violence forever. It's about time that we said to ourselves, we can take action. And I know it'll take years to have a profound impact, and it will take several changes in law. This isn't going to be easy. This isn't going to be a 1 year or 1 month challenge. This is a challenge that your generation will face for years. It's a challenge my generation has not done a very good job on. So I don't want to impose pressure on you, but you've got a big job ahead of you. But I want you to know that it's not as if you're waiting to lead. You are leading right now, and I can see it every day in Washington. And you know what? And I'll conclude with just a list of things we can do. But before I get to that, in so many ways, what your generation can do is not only to be the voice for those 17 students who were killed and others who were killed, adults as well at the school, trying to protect those students. Your generation can be a voice for them to carry the ball forward and try to reduce the likelihood, with no guarantees, of course, reduce the likelihood this could happen again. But you know what? I was just thinking about this morning. When I thought about those students at Sandy Hook, I was haunted by what happened in that classroom. And in that instance, the shooter was going to a second classroom. So if he had more time, if he had 20 more minutes in 2012, or half an hour, he could have killed hundreds of children in addition to the 20 that he killed in that one classroom. And you know what? When you read the stories of those children, what they did in their young lives, they made a difference. 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds. One of them was named Caroline. I have a daughter, Caroline. So I zoomed in on her. Dark hair and a beautiful little child. Here's what she did in her young life. She would sit on a bus with a kid that she knew was intimidated and was shy and was sitting all alone in the bus. The mother of that young boy told that story to Caroline. In her young life, she made a difference in the life of that one child, gave him comfort, made him feel better on a bus when he might not have felt confident, or maybe we didn't have any friends. In so many ways, you can be the voice for Caroline, because she and those other students were silenced. And of course, no one could expect the other students in that school, 6-year-olds or 7 or 8-year-olds, to carry the fight that you're carrying right now. So what you're doing is beyond just what happened in Florida. You're going to be the voices. You're going to be the reason that those children in Connecticut, that their lives will have meaning and value as well. That the horror of that massacre will not be forgotten, just like we should never forget the horror of the massacre in Florida. So what should we do? And then I'll take your questions. We should pass a background check bill as fast as possible in the United States Senate and the United States House. We should also pass a ban on the military style, the assault weapons as well. We should certainly allow the Centers for Disease Control, my God, to study this. It's been prohibited under federal law that the Centers for Disease Control can't even study gun violence, can't even study it as a public health threat. We should remove that prohibition that's been in the law, I guess, since 1996. And of course, we can do a long list of other things. I'll just mention one more. We can use my bill, the Disarm Hate Bill, which says that if you are convicted of a misdemeanor that involves the use of force, a violent misdemeanor, that you won't be able to get a gun after that. Why would we allow someone who's already shown a predisposition towards violence, sometimes in the case of spousal abuse or other acts of violence? We saw this at the Pulse nightclub when that individual was demonstrating those same predispositions. Why would we allow someone who's already been convicted at a misdemeanor level to have a gun to go and then commit a felony or even a murder? So that's just 4, but unfortunately that's probably not an exhaustive list. We probably need more than that to make progress on this legislation, or to make progress on the legislation that will have an impact on the issue. But I want you to know how powerful an impact you're already having. And all I can say to you is keep going. Keep fighting, keep marching, keep mobilizing now and into the future, because you're going to be voting for decades, and every politician in both parties, in every state, is going to have to respond to you. So thanks for what you are doing. Keep going, and I'll take your questions. Hold on. We want to hear everybody. Amina? Okay.
My question is, well, you said all these great things that you want to enact about you ran your last campaign on the Second Amendment back in Democrat. How can we guarantee and be sure that once you're reelected, you won't change your views again, and that you'll stick by with all that you said, exactly the things
Very good question. Let me tell you what happened in my case. I hope this will happen in the lives of more elected officials, whether they are Democrats or Republicans. The hope is it'll happen in hear me back there? What's that? Podium is better? Okay, podium is better. What I want to say was, I hope this happens in the careers of more members of the Republican Party, because I was a Democrat who, on the day of the school shooting in Newtown, I was asked a question leaving another event when I knew a few of the details, but not much. I knew there was a school shooting in Connecticut. I didn't know how many were killed, but I knew it was a horrific tragedy. I was asked by a radio reporter, Amina, as I was leaving the event. She said to me, should we do something about this, or what should we do? Should we pass legislation to react to this? And I gave her the answer that I had given for years, and a lot of politicians are still giving. I said, oh, and her name is Elaine Efford. I know her as a radio reporter in Pittsburgh. I said, Elaine, no new gun laws will make a difference. That's what I said. Then I got in my car, drove for hours to get back to my home area. And in the course of that drive and that weekend, watching television and learning about the massacre in that classroom, I had to ask myself that question I just posed before. Is there nothing we can do? And I concluded there was. So I was changing a lane, from a lane of saying, from one lane saying you can't do anything about this, to the other point of view, which was we have to do something about it. We have to take action. So you're going to watch this year my votes. You're going to watch a campaign. I'm not allowed to talk about campaigns in here except referring to them. And you're going to see what I say and what I do. And then you'll make a judgment about me based upon that. But I can be certain when I say that I'm not going to go back to that other position.
assault-style weapons out of schools.
Yeah, I think we have to at least with those measures, right? Background check, limitation of the magazines, ban the military-style weapon. There were some folks this week who in Pennsylvania went to gun shows. I don't know why they would do that this week, but we've got to be closing the gun show loophole, for example. We have to make sure that we take other steps. To give you another one, there are a lot of these not getting much attention, but we could close, for example, the Charlestown loophole. One bill that was proposed after that horrible shooting in that church was that sometimes a background check might take more than 3 days. And under current law, depending on what state you're in, but in some states, under current law, once the background check gets beyond 3 days, they can get the weapon. We should not allow a slow background check to be the reason that someone gets a weapon. So closing that loophole. But as I said, this is not, I don't think we're going to solve this problem even beyond the school context by passing one or two pieces of legislation. It's got to be a series of things. Then we have to enforce them, and then we have to see the result over time. This is going to take many, many years to reduce the number of shootings, but I think we've got momentum now that we didn't have before, and your generation is a full measure of that. Okay, getting better at alternating. Okay.
My name is Noah.
Yes, no.
The National Rifle Association has given donations to help fund dozens, if not hundreds of congressional campaigns.
Right.
Have you ever taken money from the IRA?
I think I might have, as a state candidate years ago, yeah. But like I said, because of what I said in late 12, and because of how I voted in 13 and 14 going forward, there's going to be no donation. And frankly, even if they came to me and said, well, we know you're voting against us all the time now, but we still want to help you anyway, I wouldn't. But that's not some dramatic statement, because it's going to be the opposite of that. They're going to be campaigning against me, attacking me, and the like. So we're in a different place than the NRA. By the way, I should say, none of these things I just talked about, background check, limit on the magazine, close the Charleston loophole, have the CDC study this, that whole long list of things, none of these will have an adverse impact on the Second Amendment. And I think gun owners who hunt, and it's a big tradition in our state, and families have several generations of hunters, those folks know it. They know that these measures are designed to focus on the problem. People who should not have guns, who are dangerous, some of whom buy the gun for the purpose of committing an act of violence. That's not the case with most people that own guns. And I think people who own guns are sometimes the smartest about how targeted these measures are to gun violence, and not in any way compromise their ability to buy a weapon for self-protection if they get it back through a background check or for hunting. Yes. Okay, we'll go over here.
Hello, my name is Celeste Green. I'm from the junior year at Cheltenham. And to begin, my peers and I would like to thank you for taking this time after your speech to listen to our questions and to hear our concerns, which is a courtesy our administration has not always given us. Before I ask the question regarding the school safety regulations, I need to provide some very important facts. As both youth and students, as both youth in America and students in Parkland High School, we are angry. Angry that entering a school triggers fear and anxiety in some of the students. Angry that looking to get an education, that children looking to get an education have gotten bullet holes instead. I'm angry that we have to arm ourselves with microphones and shield ourselves with knowledge because people in the power are not hard enough to change.
Yes.
There has been an immense amount of confusion into teachers about the school's protocols for threats, for safety, and how the school intends to teach us about these protocols. The administration did not effectively address these issues in the large-scale meeting they held, which they seek out for information on their own. I asked the principal about these safety protocols and possible drill, but after the principal was unable to answer my questions, he referred me to the vice principal. She explained that her job is to ensure that the school meets the legal regulation of one lockdown drill per school year. A lockdown drill being an unrealistic drill in which students hide in locked classrooms for a short scheduled period of time, supposedly preparing us for situations like school shootings. This means that even though it's March and we have yet to have a drill, let alone an actually helpful drill, we are still meeting the illegal regulation. I don't know if anyone has told you yet, Senator Casey, but there have been 4 incidents involving potential threats of gun violence at Cheltenham High School over the last 2 weeks. These incidents have ranged from the discovery of a student containing what the principal described as disturbing messages, to an email students received last night informing us that a group of people had entered the building after school hours, with one person in the group claiming someone was in possession of a weapon. This makes the issue of school safety regulations extremely relevant to Cheltenham High School and schools in similar situations. We need more safety drills, better protocols, and comprehensive resources for safety and community. However, the only way to ensure that this happens is to remodel the legal regulations regarding school safety. So the question for you, Senator Casey, is how will you use the power of your position and your political influence to help get regulations that will keep us safe?
Couple things. I don't have a sense that you have of what's happened just in the last number of days or weeks. And I can't say I'm a school safety expert, so I won't pretend to be. I know a good bit about these measures we could vote on in the Senate, so I've talked about that, and I'll talk about them more if you want. But one thing we could do, and this is a resource question, and it may not answer your question, the concerns you have, or the disagreements you have with school administrators and others, but I did a couple of notes on the federal budget. This is important. It's not dispositive. I'm not saying that these cuts mean that Cheltenham has less money to deal with these issues, but they might, so you should know about them. First of all, the president's budget. This is a proposal the president makes to Congress. It eliminates, doesn't cut, eliminates the student support and academic enrichment grants, which are a $400 million block grant to school districts to use on a variety of activities, including mental health and school climate. So I don't know if that's going to affect you directly, but I don't know why the hell we're eliminating that program, or at least the administration is trying to do that. Let me give you the administration in Washington, let me give you a second example. The budget also calls for a 36% cut to school safety national activities. So that program would be reduced by 25 million. One of the parts of that program is the school emergency response to violence programs known as SERV, S-E-R-V. What is it? Here's what it does. It's a program that funds education-related services to help, quote, this is from the program, quote, recover from a violent or traumatic event in which the learning environment has been disrupted, unquote. So all I can say is my job is to vote the right way on these common sense gun measures, and my job is also to fight like hell against those cuts that the administration is proposing. But I can't speak directly to what's happened here to give the school a directive or advice. But I'm glad you're willing to use your First Amendment rights and tell us directly what you think is the problem. Thank you.
To me was that they are made by the state, and I know that you do not work directly in the state government or the local government, but I do know that as a citizen, I have an immense amount of influence with those people and the people working in those groups. So I want to know how, if you aren't able within your job at this moment to affect those regulations, I want to know how you can use your influence to get them.
There's no question.
And I should have mentioned the state role in this, obviously. State government plays the primary role in terms of funding and in terms of the regulatory nature of this. So sure, I can I can use my voice there if you think there are ways that we could persuade either the General Assembly, the House and the Senate in Harrisburg to do that. And if you think there are other changes that we should be advocating for, I can certainly use my voice in doing that. Thanks very much. Appreciate you being honest. Yep.
I know you talked to the Washington Post on Monday about talking about a combined bill with all these different issues. So how is that combined bill going to get passed? The smaller bills are having trouble getting passed.
Yeah, no, I actually wonder, and I hate to say this, but I wonder if it's possible to pass a larger bill. I would prefer, I think the preferable way to go is to have a debate on one bill and then have a vote on that bill and then have a separate debate or a second debate and vote on a second bill. It's going to be difficult, I think, to pass anything big. Here's something else I want to say to you in light of that question. If you don't see something passed next week, don't assume that the work you're doing and the pressure that you're putting on is not having an effect. Washington moves slowly. The Senate sometimes moves even more slowly than the House. So don't be dejected if you don't see immediate activity, but keep the pressure on, because there is one bill that does have bipartisan support in addition to the background check bill, so-called Fix NICS. NICS is N-I-C-S, the instant check system. So you can make a check on someone like that instead of having a system that doesn't give you that information. So fixing that system is very important. What I worry about and what I'll be angry about if it happens is Republicans might say, well, we'll vote on the Fix NICS bill and then that's it, we're gonna move on. And that's the point at which if they do that, and they haven't quite said that yet, hinted at that, where we're gonna need you to really step up and go on social media and use other ways to say we can't stop with just one vote on one measure. We need a series of measures taken care of. But look, I'm open to the idea that someone might have to combine bills. That's fine. I just want to get them passed. The problem is, the challenge is, the United States Senate is not a 51-49 institution. On a substantive matter like this, you need 60 votes. So we have to get Republicans to pass this.
Hi, I'm Sarah England, and I know that Donald Trump, as well as other legislators, have talked about potentially arming teachers with guns, which would not only take money away from potential, educational things, but also arm teachers who are not necessarily trained properly, much like the teacher who brought a gun into school and it was fired, and there was a lot of talk and concern about that. What is your take on arming teachers?
Yeah, I don't think it's the answer, and I think most people understand that. I don't profess to be a classroom security expert, but I spent 1 year as a volunteer in North Philly teaching 5th grade. I wasn't a very good art teacher, by the way, but I do know that in that context, I know something about it. I had just a 1 year, but a 1 year glimpse of the pressures teachers face, the difficulty of having lesson plans and keeping order and making sure that your students can learn and that you can teach. I can't imagine in my own circumstance, but in any circumstance, having the additional burden of having to protect that classroom as if you were a law enforcement, highly trained official. So that's not an answer. Now, there may be some teachers here in Pennsylvania and a lot of other places who say, I want to do that. I'm a teacher, but I had some background in law enforcement, or I was in the military, or whatever the circumstance is, and they may want to be part of the protection of their students. If they want to do that, that's fine. But the idea that as a general rule, that's a solution, I think, is really erroneous. Now, I think the president, fortunately, in the last meeting he had in the White House, that was public, was talking about other issues, talking about adding to the legislation on the so-called fixed NICs by adding a spousal measure that Senator Klobuchar of Minnesota has been advocating for. He seemed to be willing to make the common sense gun reform possibility a little more substantial, a little broader, and that was welcome. I worry that he might just go back into the NRA position. We'll see, but I don't think arming teachers is a solution, and I think probably teachers are the best evidence of that. Okay, two more. Yes. I'm sorry, say that again?
My name is Robert Compton.
Right, okay.
I'd like to ask you about the Dickey Amendment. That was back in '96, you talked about it briefly. It's been 22 years, and that's been supported by the NRA multiple times. Is there any steps that you can take that just help the CDC get back the funding for research?
Yep, no, it's a great question. He referred to this prohibition that I spoke of, that the Centers for Disease Control, only in Washington could this happen, in the bizarre world of Washington. See, Centers for Disease Control cannot study this issue. It is not allowed under law to study violence and to make recommendations from a public health point of view. I think it is certainly within the scope of public health. So we have to change the law to be certain that that prohibition is not there. So that's one of the things we can do. That's one of the things I mentioned. But here's some interesting news. And again, I'm never sure how far these officials are willing to go other than just saying something. But the new Health and Human Services Secretary, Mr. Azar, who has roots actually in Pennsylvania, very conservative Republican. He and I have already sparred about Medicaid. We don't agree on Medicaid. He wants to cut it, I don't. But here's what he said recently, just in the last couple of days. He said he believes that, and I'm paraphrasing here, not an exact quotation, but he believes that CDC may be able to study that right now. I hope he's right about that. But to be certain, we should pass a law that says CDC can study gun violence as a public health issue and provide recommendations. So I think we got to pass a law.
My name is Heather. I'm a sophomore here at Cheltenham, and my question is, as a senator, what are you going to do to make sure that Republican colleagues pass gun control bill?
Well, I'll tell you, I would like to be able to tell you that I can sit down with a Republican and go and have a beer with them and say, you know what? You've been voting the wrong way for years. Hold on. And that I'm going to persuade you to change your votes, right? That often doesn't happen. So folks on our side of this issue, and it's not only Democrats, there are some Republicans on our side of passing a series of common sense gun measures. But we're going to keep trying to persuade. But I'll tell you, and I'll just to what I said earlier, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to keep saying it. Your generation, every student here and your entire generation has had more impact on Republican politicians and their thinking in the last 2 weeks than most politicians have had in years, if not decades. And I think that's plainly evident. Do you think Governor Scott in Florida would have said what he said the last couple of days or last 2 weeks if you didn't put that pressure on? I don't think so. Do you think the president would have had that meeting in the White House where he was suggesting, again, Republican point of view, that we should do X, Y, or Z? I'm not sure he'll stay with it, but let's be hopeful on that. It's because of the pressure that you have brought to bear. Now, that doesn't absolve me of responsibility. I have to keep trying. I have to keep advocating. I have to keep voting. I have to keep urging them to pass these measures. But I'm telling you, we're going to be more persuasive, short-term and long-term, than any Democratic politician in Washington or Harrisburg or otherwise. So I'd say it again, keep going. You're going to shape this debate.
I was towards you and kind of counterparts back in the Senate.
Okay.
What is the logic behind giving firearms to teachers and staff members in every school building when the government can't even adequately pay public school faculty and provide healthy school lunches and necessary supplies.
Good point. I don't disagree. You make a good point. Look, look, most people, I think most people across the country understand that this is, hold on in the back so you can hear everybody. That this is a problem that has developed over a long period of time. We've allowed it to get worse and worse and worse by the year, and we've done very little about it. And I'm not just talking about the circumstance of violence in schools, gun violence in schools. It's society at large, movie theaters and other public places, all kinds of handgun violence in the street. So it's going to take a while to dig out of that hole we put ourselves in. But just like any great leader, any great movement in our country, you have to start. And we have not started until, I believe, the last 2 weeks. I believe because of your generation, the ground has shifted. I have no idea how much it has shifted. And I have no illusions that that shift is going to mean that we're going to pass 5 new laws in the next couple of weeks. That would be naive for any of us to think. But I think it has shifted, and the federal government has to start listening to the voice of your generation, because you're leading on this. Politicians and folks much older than you are not leading yet on this. We're following, and in this one instance, it might be good for leaders to follow you, because you're in a leadership position right now. Hey, thanks everybody. I'm gonna put the hat on. Can I put this hat on to make sure it fits? I have a big head, but it looks like it'll work, right? All right. Even a little loose. Thanks everybody. Really appreciate your time. So I'm gonna go over here. Okay.